And breaking news to tell you about first here at 4, Steve Lawson has been sentenced in Bardstown this afternoon, and the judge is following the jury's recommendation. That sentencing began just about an hour ago. WHAS 11's Alexandra Goldberg is live in Bardstown with the details. Alexandra?
Connie, it was a very brief court proceeding, but Judge Charles Sims sentenced Steve Lawson to 17 years in prison. That's 17 years on the conspiracy charge and 5 years on the evidence tampering charge run concurrently, so a total of 17 years. He also recommended that the parole board do not take conditional discharge or parole, which would ultimately potentially lighten a sentence down the line. He recommended the board does not accept that. Of course, the defense's motion for a retrial was also denied. But take a look here at this video. We want to get right to the emotion of the courtroom. You could see the Ballard family. It's a sea of pink. You could see Steve Lawson in orange. Everyone is seated here, and the emotions and the spirits are higher than what they were during the trial. Of course, with this guilty verdict that came down, the Ballard family is just hoping that the judge takes that sentencing recommendation. Well, we heard from Crystal's sister, Brooke Bryan, and Crystal's uncle, Mike Ballard, who took the witness stand. It was a very emotional testimony. Take a listen.
You could have prevented all of this from happening if you'd just gone to the police and done the right thing. If you had done that, I believe Crystal would still be here today, and so would my brother Tommy Ballard. But no, you couldn't do that because you wanted the drywall works from Brooks out, and that's all this young lady's life was worth, and maybe just a little cash.
This testimony was emotional. As you heard, during those gaps where Mike Ballard was taking those breaths, you could hear some quiet weeping from the side of the Ballard family sitting there in the courtroom. One thing that stood out to me, in Mike Ballard's testimony, he ended with a quote, "Don't you think they need to know where their mother was buried?" He turns to Steve Lawson, looks at him directly, and asks him, "Where is the body?" The final thing that he ends with, he brings a rock out of his pocket and places it on the witness stand. The rock says Crystal. I noticed that right as I moved outside of the courtroom, and he looked at Steve, he looked at the defense counsel and said, "This is the rock. We have moved the rock." And that's in reference to something that was mentioned during Steve Lawson's trial when the defense counsel was talking about burden of proof. Right now, the prosecution had the burden of proof. They had to move that rock onto the defense's table. Well, Mike Ballard said, "We did just that." Connie.